Hello and welcome to the next webinar here at the Global Square, where we will talk about the current situation for the Russian civil society, organized by Östgruppen. During the next 30 minutes, we will focus mainly on the laws on foreign agents and undesirable organizations, which are the main two laws restricting freedom of association in Russia. As it said in the invitation, during this past year we have seen a quite dramatic deterioration for human rights in Russia. It's going fast and it's happening to an extent that we haven't really seen before. And as part of this escalated repression through various means, we've also seen an increased use of said laws. And there's also been introduced some unpleasant amendments to them that may result in some serious consequences for the civil society in Russia, which already has been under severe pressure for a long time. And with us today, to give us some insights into the latest developments in this sphere, we have Pavel Tjikov, founder of Agora, which is the network of human rights lawyers across Russia defending human rights. And it's one of the most prominent human rights organizations in the country. Considering the topic of today, we could also mention that Agora was once labeled a foreign agent themselves, already in 2014, I believe, and thereafter liquidated by court. But it has continued to work as a network, and its lawyers have also been defending several of the so-called foreign agents and undesirables in court through the years and continues to do so today. We are very happy to have you with us today, Pavel. And I will start by giving the floor to you. If you could please start by describing these laws and how they are being used in Russia.
Thank you, Maria. Well, the idea that non-governmental organizations in Russia are getting foreign funds in order to influence domestic politics was announced first time by Vladimir Putin, the president, in 2003. In 2004, he said that in his message to the Russian parliament, and only 8 years after, in 2012, with new parliament controlled by the Kremlin, this law, the law on foreign agents, has been adopted, and it was a response that the Russian government made to the so-called Magnitsky Act, the act that was adopted by the United States as a result of massive human rights abuses in Russia, and it included a sanctions list, the list of people and legal entities, companies, Russian companies that cannot operate and trade with the United States, any citizens or any companies, etc. So this should be seen on one side as a diplomatic war between Russia and the Western countries. Then the European Union and several European countries also adopted Magnitsky Acts or similar laws on their national level. And the idea to focus and to attack on various Russian groups in response of this developed in Russia. So first, on the first stage, there were human rights activists, human rights NGOs, and environmental NGOs that have been targeted by this law in 2013, 14, 15, and we also were among those. Then some of the organizations decided to stop their activities, and others decided to quit getting any foreign funds. Others decided not to use any legal entities and continue their work as informal networks, and this was the way that we used. Some groups decided to continue working as foreign agents, meaning that they have to label any publications they spread in media or in the internet, labeling that they are acting as foreign agents, meaning, and this is also an important issue, that a term foreign agent is equals to a spy in the Russian language. So what happened lately, since the beginning of this year? The Russian government decided to spread this label to media, to the journalists, and this was something new that happened. And a new list of foreign agents, media foreign agents, came up, and now there are almost 50 journalists and media organizations in it. Which is to a certain extent more sensitive for media because they work with information, they publish information, and they have to label that they are foreign agents in any publication they do. At the same time, there is another law which Maria mentioned, which is the law of undesirable organizations. Which are prohibited to any activity in Russia. And the Russian government uses both of them, labeling and banning certain groups, most of all initially foreign funds or international organizations that were giving money to Russian NGOs. But later, the authorities they started banning political opposition groups. For example, Open Russia organization founded by Russian businessman Mikhail Khodorkovsky has been considered as undesired organization, and any activity, any support of this organization, the undesirable organization in Russia, is now a crime, and there are several criminal cases, and some people are already in the detention center. They've been arrested, facing years in jail for just, for example, making links to the websites of undesirable organizations, or organizing a meeting or any protest action on the streets on behalf of this organization. This year, few media, Russian media, has been also considered as undesirable organization, and they stopped any activity in Russia. So we see this as a tool of a new wave of repressions before the Russian parliamentary elections that had been held last weekend in Russia. And the Russian civil society is expecting what will continue after the elections now. So it's kind of a question mark for all of us on the domestic level. What will happen after the elections? But the expectations in general are bad.
Pavel, maybe you could also mention something about the latest amendments to the foreign agents laws that were introduced in December. For example, you have to now report on your planned activities ahead of conducting them, and if the authorities does not approve, you have to stop the programs in question, right? And I've also heard that you have to report on all persons that are participating in your programs, and that it's no longer only like financial support from abroad, but also organizatorial support, and we don't really know what that could mean, right? Could you say something about these things too? And what kind of consequences do you think that this will have?
It was a long discussion in the human rights community several years ago whether to continue work as foreign agents and continue getting international support, for example, and fulfill all the requirements that the law poses on the foreign agents, or to try to be excluded from the list and to try to find legal ways to continue operating without being a foreign agent. It was a long discussion, and several groups decided to continue working as foreign agents because these obligations sounded that they can be reached. But the problem is that the government is putting more and more obligations and more requirements and more restrictions on the foreign agents. And this is exactly what you're just talking about, because now these foreign agents have to agree and inform the government about any planning activity. So not only what has been already done, but what is to be done in the coming future, and asking, literally asking for permission to publish a book, to make a research, to organize a meeting, a conference, to do anything. It sounds like a total control over non-governmental activity in Russia for certain groups, as well as the widening understanding on what can be considered as support, not only money or funds coming from international groups like, by the way, the United Nations organizations or the European Union structures or Council of Europe or any charities that are working internationally. This international support now can be considered any advice, even consultation. Even, for example, you, Maria, will help any Russian group with any information about Sweden or about Swedish civil society or about Swedish government or businesses operating in Sweden or in Russia. And this can be considered as support from a foreigner, and we can be found or enlisted as foreign agents as well. So the target and the focus that the government is trying to reach is to cut any ties with the foreign peers and with the international community that Russian civil society now has.
Can you also maybe mention something about what the consequences are for the people who, for example, are found to be associated with the undesirable organizations in Russia?
As I said, this is already a crime, and this can be persecuted by the police, and there are already a bunch of people who has been fined administratively, and few of them criminally persecuted. I know personally know two people that spent several months in custody, and one of them, Andrei Pivovarov, who is the head of Open Russia organization in Russia. He is, by the way, today is his birthday. He is 40. And he is in custody since I think since May, so for already 4 months, facing several years of imprisonment right now. So this is this is purely for contacts and participation in some events that are completely legal in any part of the world.
As I mentioned before, the lawyers of Agora have defended several of these foreign agents and the undesirable organizations. And we have also made a movie here in Östgruppen about some of these cases. And there is this young woman, Daria Apahoncic, who is an activist, artist, feminist, and she became one of the first to be registered as an individual foreign agents media. And we thought that we would now show a short clip from this video. And after that, I thought that maybe you, Pavel, could comment what it's like what such legal processes are like, if there is a chance to win such cases, and what possibilities for people like Daria and Andrei Pivovarov, as you mentioned, other activists, what chances do they have to reach justice through court system in Russia now? But let's show this clip.
At the end of December, I was added to the list of foreign agents, which means that now I have to see all posts, all materials, all pictures in all social medias that I'm foreign agent. Another thing that now 4 times a year I must write a big report to the Ministry of Justice about all my money, how do I get it, and also how do I spend it. Yes, and it's quite a big document, about 85 pages, and that's a lot of work, I can say. What if I don't want to do that? So first, it is kind of fine that I must pay, and the worst thing that it could be like 2 years of prison if I'm not going to do that.
Pavel, if you could please comment, what possibilities do you see that there are for people like Daria to get justice nowadays?
Well, first of all, I have to say that Daria is among 5 first individuals that have been considered foreign agents. Before the new year, it was in late December last year, when 5 people have been enlisted as foreign agents in Russia. 3 of them are the journalists. One is a human rights activist, Lev Ponomarev, a human rights defender, more than 80 years old, by the way. Now, and a feminist activist, Daria Apahoncic, whom you just seen. And this is the first time when Russian citizens have been considered foreign agents, not non-governmental organizations or any other legal entities. But the first court cases on behalf of foreign agents started in 2012. During this almost 10 years, more than 100 Russian non-governmental organizations went through the national court system, challenging this status. No one of them has won. No one of them. It's like a pure victory of the government in the Russian courts. And all of them ended up in the European Court of Human Rights. In 2018 or 19, the court communicated the first group of applications. And so far, we don't have a judgment. It's a widely known saying about the European Court of Human Rights that justice delayed is justice denied, and this is exactly the case where it is absolutely true. Because as you probably know, that Hungary adopted the similar law, almost a copy of a Russian law on foreign agents, after Russia has done that. And Hungarian human rights organizations, they appealed to the Court of the European Union and already won the case. So the Court of the European Union said this is a violation of basic rights and freedoms. The European Court of Human Rights the case is still pending there, so we don't have the standard. We are absolutely sure that we will win the case, but the problem is that the situation is getting worse and worse every year since then. So all the foreign agents, including Daria, they challenged this status. She had to leave the country and she's not anymore in Russia because she was afraid of any attacks and persecutions that could happen. But we represent her in the courts. We are going the whole way to the Russian Supreme Court, and I am absolutely sure that we will go then to the Strasbourg Court as well. But now there is zero chances to win such a case in Russia, and so far, in almost a decade that we cannot win even in the European Court of Human Rights.
Yeah, you mentioned that things are becoming worse for every year now, and I suppose when we are talking about these laws and how they are being used, they are also they are part of a bigger pattern that we can see, which I mentioned already with the increased repression in Russia in general. And it's pretty dark and grim and sad picture that we are seeing developing before our eyes right now. And I was wondering if you could also comment on the prospects for the democracy movement in Russia after such a year. If you think it will continue to become worse. And also I read an article in the New Times that you wrote recently, and you write that this blatant injustice has become mainstream in Russia and that there are no longer any means of fighting it. I was wondering if you could comment on that. Is it such a hopeless situation right now, or is it something that could change this negative trend, this path that we see that Russia has taken? And is there anything that you can see that gives hope?
Well, no hope for several years already in Russia, unfortunately. This is not something that just happened last Sunday or last summer or whatever. This is our reality for years right now, and no expectations that anything will improve in coming future. In addition to what you've just said, I have to notice that legal means are not working, almost not working anymore, because we are lawyers. And for many years, we've been helping people to sometimes to win, but more often to diminish the harm caused by law enforcement and Russian judiciary. But what we also see as lawyers, that the effectiveness of legal means are weakening and decreasing every year, and the main task for civil society groups in Russia now is to survive and to try to keep their teams, people, activities, reputation, etc. As I said, we all expect what the government policy, domestic policy, will be in coming months after the new parliament is set and before the new presidential elections in 2024. But we have, all major political opposition leaders either imprisoned or in exile. We have hundreds of politically motivated criminal cases against political and civic activists in Russia since the beginning of this year. It looks like there are no any international means or pressure that can stop the Russian government from making a U-turn from this path that you are talking about. My expectations are bad, but we will try to keep us working and try to help people as long as we can.
Pavel, as a last question, you mentioned international pressure and international contacts. I was wondering, what are the possibilities still of cooperating with the Russian civil society today? If there are Swedish civil society representatives wanting to cooperate with Russian civil society in some way, what would your recommendations be to them, to us? What could and should we do, in your opinion?
Well, the thing is that we are neighboring countries, right? And you're sitting close to us and watching what is going on here. You have to be, cautious about the events going on in Russia because we are too close to you, and we are definitely influencing. And there is also Belarus, for example, where the situation is worsening, and there is also Ukraine and Russian-Ukrainian relations close to you. There are also Baltic states and Russian relations with them, which are not good for years right now. So, in general, there are no signs that the situation will improve in coming future, and you have to be ready for that and prepared for that,
Sorry,
keep an eye
Pavel,
on
there's
what is
just
going
1
on.
minute left for the seminar now, so I don't know if you want to say something really short.
Yes, so
Sorry.
the support, the contacts, and please keep an eye on what is going on here because we are, too close to you.
I'm sorry, this was a really short webinar and it's already coming to an end. But as a last question or comment, I want to say that if you're interested in the current developments in Russia and the civil society there, we are also organizing another webinar here at the Global Square tomorrow at 11:30 with Stanislav Andreychuk from the election monitoring organization Golos. So don't miss that. And also you can follow us on our website, social media, have a look at the YouTube channel and have a look at the video that you just saw a short clip of. and also other films and webinars on the situation for Russian civil society there. And as a final recommendation, of course, you can also become a member of Östgruppen and work together with us to demand the respect for human rights and the right to freedom of association in Russia and elsewhere. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much, Pavel, for participating today and for the important work that you do in Russia. Thank you.